Well, the first trailer for My Adventures with Superman has arrived. Not only that, we know when it's going to be released, how many episodes we're going to get, and where we can see them. So let's check out the trailer and all the new Superman news. Now, before we dive into My Adventures with Superman, I wanted to tell you about my favorite podcast, Who Would Win? Who Would Win is a geek and comedy podcast that debates battles between superheroes and villains from worlds of comics, sci-fi, and fantasy. James and Ray have educated takes on all these characters, and it is a ton of fun, so make sure you check it out. Well, I think there has been some excitement for My Adventures with Superman. We haven't had a solo Superman series in several decades, and the new show has garnered a lot of attention, shortly before it seemed to be canceled and was brought back on Adult Swim. Now, interestingly enough, we got a new trailer today, and we're going to dive into a couple of details and talk about it, but with that, we have a release date, and that will be July the 6th. On July the 6th, we are going to get 2 episodes of the show on Adult Swim, but most interestingly, it is indeed coming to their streaming platform and will show up the very next day on the newly renamed Max. There was so much to like about this trailer, even though it was only about a minute. I guess to be fair, we won't be waiting very long for the show, so a minute doesn't seem like too much. Now, most of the shots in the trailer were short, but they seem to indicate we are definitely going to be following Clark Kent through the normal parts of his life as much as his time as Superman. We saw a lot of Clark, living a normal life and beginning his career at the Daily Planet along with Jimmy Olsen. We also got an early peek at Perry White and quite a few shots of the overall aesthetic of Metropolis, which definitely has a futuristic take on the city and something that aligns definitely with the Man of Tomorrow persona that the character's been embracing more and more in modern times. As far as the show goes, the animation style is very, anime. And if you're an anime fan, I think you're going to be pretty excited. But even if you're not an anime fan, the show's action and take seems to work pretty well, so I don't think that should drive anybody away from the project. Additionally, the sound and music seem pretty great to me. All the sound effects carried some weight, which sometimes in cartoons the sound doesn't really have great weight and takes you out of the show. And as for the music, am I the only one that actually heard a little bit of a cover of Led Zeppelin's Kashmir mixed in there? Check the trailer out again for yourself and listen, because I really do think that's part of the trailer. Obviously, the trailer focused on some action shots and some villains, but most of them were kind of hard to identify. Most of them were short shots, and none of the ones I really saw were clearly classic Superman baddies like Metallo or Toyman, but that doesn't mean they won't appear. We did get a shot of one group of criminals seemingly holding some high-tech weaponry, which suggests to me we could have Intergang in this first season, leading a direct path to one of Superman's biggest villains ever, Darkseid, which honestly I hope is part of the series later down the road after Superman has been established as the hero of Metropolis. Now, like I said, we only have to wait till July the 6th, just about a month from today, before we get the 2 premiere episodes, which I really appreciate. I also found it really interesting that yes, indeed, the show is coming to Adult Swim, but it's also going to show up on the newly renamed HBO Max service, now called Max, the very next day, which I find kind of weird because they tried to push a lot of the non-DCU stuff off the platform, and now having a slot for it, I just find the decision making a little inconsistent, but I don't mind because I have a subscription to Max. Obviously, they have big plans for Superman in the future on the big screen and small, so I am really curious where this animated show takes us and how much it influences other projects coming down the road, as well as how those projects have influenced this animation. Until we know more details, we're gonna have to wait and see.